The fluorescent lights of the local gym buzzed faintly overhead as a group of young martial artists gathered near the sparring mats. Sweat glistened on foreheads, gloves thudded against heavy bags, and laughter echoed between kicks. At the far end of the hall, quietly mopping the floor, was Mr. Darnell Hayes, the night janitor. He moved slowly but deliberately, shoulders broad beneath his worn navy uniform, his expression calm. Most people barely noticed him. He kept to himself. But tonight someone noticed. Marcus the Cobra Lin, a 22-year-old black belt known for his flashy moves and cocky grin, was feeling restless after class. He tossed his gloves over his shoulder, spotted Darnell, and smirked. "Hey, big man," Marcus called out. "How about you put that mop down and spar with me? Just for fun." The room chuckled. Everyone knew Darnell wasn't a fighter. At least, they thought they knew. Darnell looked up slowly, eyes locking on Marcus. Then, without a word, he leaned the mop against the wall, walked toward the mat, and tied back his sleeves. No one in the room could have guessed what they were about to see. The laughter in the gym dimmed into curious murmurs as Darnell stepped barefoot onto the mat. Marcus bounced on his heels, grinning, clearly expecting an easy show for his friends. "Don't worry, old man," Marcus teased. "I'll go easy." Darnell's face didn't change. He gave a polite nod. "That's kind of you." Coach Ramirez, a stocky man with a salt and pepper beard, raised an eyebrow but allowed it. "All right," he said. "Light spar. No injuries." The two squared off. Marcus opened with a playful jab, light and harmless. Darnell didn't even flinch. He simply shifted his weight, letting the punch pass within inches. Another jab, another subtle sidestep. It was like watching someone step out of the way of falling rain without getting wet. The room started to get quiet. Marcus threw a faster combination. Left hook, right cross, low kick. But Darnell's movements were smooth, almost lazy, each dodge a fraction of a second before impact. "Yo, what is this?" one of the students whispered. Darnell wasn't attacking. He was just reading Marcus, predicting him. Then Marcus's grin faded slightly. His strikes became sharper, more focused. And that's when it happened. Darnell caught Marcus's wrist mid-punch, redirected his energy, and gently tapped him on the chest with an open palm. It was the kind of touch you wouldn't think twice about. Except Marcus stumbled back, completely off balance. Gasps filled the room. Coach Ramirez's eyes narrowed. He recognized something in Darnell's posture. This wasn't random luck. This was skill. Marcus came in harder now, pride on the line. But every time he advanced, Darnell was simply gone. Not fast in the flashy sense, just always in the right place at the right time. Finally, Marcus lunged forward, aiming for a takedown. Darnell's hand rested lightly on Marcus's shoulder, his body pivoted, and Marcus found himself on the mat before he knew what had happened. Silence. Marcus stared up at him, chest heaving. Darnell offered a hand and pulled him to his feet. "Where'd you learn that?" Marcus asked, the first traces of respect in his voice. Darnell shrugged. "Long time ago. Doesn't matter now." But Coach Ramirez stepped closer. "That's Aikido," he said softly, "and not the kind you pick up from a weekend class. You were trained, weren't you?" Darnell gave a small nod. "Once I taught for a while. Then life happened." The students exchanged glances. They had spent months trying to master balance and timing, but this janitor moved like water without ego or force. What none of them knew, not yet, was why Darnell walked away from it all. The spar continued, but now Marcus fought differently. The cocky smirk was gone. In its place was genuine focus. Darnell still didn't strike to hurt. Every move he made was measured, designed not to overpower but to redirect, to protect. Finally, after a graceful disarm and sweep, Marcus was on the mat again. Darnell extended his hand. "You've got speed," he said, "but sometimes speed without patience will get you hurt. Fighting isn't about winning, it's about making sure no one gets hurt." Marcus took his hand, breathing heavily. "I didn't see that before." Coach Ramirez stepped forward. "Darnell, would you consider teaching here? Even just once a week?" The janitor looked around at the faces, some embarrassed for laughing earlier, others inspired. He hesitated, Then he glanced at Marcus, who now stood with a humble smile. If it helps them learn to fight with respect, I'll do it. Word spread fast. Within a week, the mystery janitor had a small crowd staying late after class, eager to learn. Darnell never charged them a cent. His lessons weren't just about martial arts. They were about life, about staying calm under pressure, reading people's intentions, and walking away when you could. One night after class, Marcus stayed behind. You know, he said quietly, I used to fight to prove something, to make people look at me. Darnell smiled. And now? Marcus shrugged. Now I just want to be better. For me. For others. Darnell patted his shoulder. That's the real black belt. From then on, whenever the mats filled with laughter and movement, the quiet janitor was no longer just the man with the mop. He was Sensei Darnell Shano, the teacher who reminded them all that the greatest strength lies in kindness. And in that gym, no one forgot the day a simple challenge for fun turned into a lesson that would last a lifetime.